Be sure to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications on future uploads. Hello everyone, Simon Bard here, or you can call me Sully. And now I'm going to be looking over the movies that I saw in theaters in October 2022. And again, there are 6 of them. Don't worry, there will be more in the next month. The first film I'm going over is an interesting one with an all-star cast and aspects of charm and fun in, at best, some regards. Amsterdam. Director David O. Russell has made an alright crime comedy with fine characters, a fine story, and fine effects when needed. While the murder mystery aspect of it is interesting, as the story of 2 World War I veterans who became friends and get accused of murder in 1933, only to become entangled in a conspiracy along with a World War I nurse who's also a friend, on the future of America and its leaders, has some nice comedic bits with a couple I chuckled at. It might be a bit jarring with how the film is structured, shot, and edited, especially for scenes that go on longer than needed, and has a bit of awkwardness as well, not to mention having odd placements of narration. I was quite liking it, and the all-star cast of actors brought forth a nice sense of charm and fun. And as apples to oranges this film is to see how they run, with both being murder mystery comedies, having a cast of well-known actors, and both being released by Disney under Searchlight Pictures and 20th Century Studios respectively, I more prefer Amsterdam for its charming acting, interesting presentation, and fine setup. 2.5+ stars. The second movie is based on a book series that I'm not overly familiar with, but it doesn't help that the movie itself isn't to my liking as much. Lyle Lyle Crocodile. Directors Will Speck and Josh Gordon have made a bit of an uninteresting film with kind of nothing characters, a bit of a lame story, yet okay effects and songs. While I never read the book series of the same name by Bernard Weber, I do recognize them from the name and seeing the illustrations and covers back in elementary school. But with that said, the movie adaptation is hard to grasp, and has similar issues to Clifford the Big Red Dog from last fall, with them being based on books, having it set in New York City, having lame humor, and a story of how an unusual animal changes the life of a child and everyone around. Except this one is of a singing crocodile who only sings, a mean landlord or neighbor who loves his cat and hates the main family for no reason, an eccentric magician who tries to showcase the singing crocodile, yet the croc has stage fright, characters who are forgotten and then come back from nowhere, and a scene of sorrow that goes on longer than necessary. The only things that make it worth a viewing are the songs, and their original ones at best, and maybe the effects, in which 1 or 2 areas felt off. Outside of those things, it's mainly a nothing film, and I listen to the soundtrack from it rather than see it again. 2 stars. This next film would have been an interesting one given what it contains, but it all came up to being almost nothing. Tar. Director Todd Field has made a surprisingly nothing film with meh characters, a meh story, yet okay edits and music. While its story may sound unique, of a female conductor having to compose and conduct her own music in Berlin, only for her to get accusations on social media, mainly around someone she knew who's having issues, the way it's done here is almost boring. Almost being that the stuff that intrigued me is interesting, with pieces of classical music here and there, nice uses of sound mixing and sound editing, bits of music theory, the end credits being played in reverse at the beginning, and the original score of Hildur Guðnadóttir. But there are moments that are hardly explained, and the social media angle felt unneeded, let alone make little sense with how vague and what's going on. A majority of the first half hour was almost nothing, and things that are happening usually went nowhere. And that's my main gripe with the film. It's quite vague on the sidelines that all the accusations are not once mentioned or hardly there. I was expecting more of a psychological drama or thriller, which it kind of is in the former, but it's hardly engaging, especially with the cancel culture involvement. And it's really a shame from someone like me who has a likeness for classical music or music in general. 2.5 minus stars. But this next one, a horror film, is alright for the genre, and an original take on exorcism with hardly any issues. Pray for the Devil. Director Daniel Stamm has made an alright horror film with nice characters, an interesting story, and well-made effects. It's quite a unique take on exorcism, in which a nun becomes an exorcist, but her reasons why are easy to get as the film goes, and despite others viewing her and her past differently, they don't shame or blame her too much, and even then, she takes matters on her own. And there's a neat twist around one of the possessed characters that, while I did predict before it was mentioned, I really didn't mind when it happened. I very rarely have anything to dislike about the film, even when some scary bits go overblown. So overall, it's an adequate Exorcist film, one that doesn't insult or shun its main lead a lot, which is expected, but thankfully is done rather fine. 2.5 plus stars. However, the next horror film I saw, and the final one in a big movie franchise, isn't that good at all. But for completely different reasons than how others saw it. Halloween Ends. Director David Gordon Green has done a not-so-good job of concluding the Halloween movies, with this being the third and final entry of the Reboot film since 2018, with having unlikable characters, except for its leads which are alright, a frustrating story, and some fine kills. On one hand, the story is the most egregious, as it mostly focuses on a young man who gets shamed and harassed for killing a kid that was really an accident, and technically was the kid's fault for causing it. It just gets worse the more people pester or fight him, even when he's going out with someone who sees him as human. But on the other hand, the moments with Laurie Strode and her final conflict with Michael Myers are okay, and the ending of it all felt right for my taste. But getting through it was a pain the more this blame game goes on, and I'd rather watch the scenes with Laurie and Michael any day over the rest of this movie. That and of course the ending, which I think is the best way to go. I just wish the first 2/3 would support that. 2.5 minus stars. And the last film I'm reviewing is a pretty enjoyable flick, and a fun one from the DCEU. Black Adam. Director Jean-Claude Sierra has made a fun superhero film based on the anti-hero Black Adam and the Justice Society from DC Comics, with Black Adam created by Otto Binder and C.C. Beck, and with good characters, a well-done story, and fun effects and action. While the film does occur within the Shazam universe, albeit darker than the first Shazam movie, there's enough humor and clever twists in the story to make it pretty entertaining, and in some aspects, I didn't know where it was going. There's some cool moments of slow-mo, character deaths that make the hard PG-13 worth it, and a couple of nice cameos too, even at the mid-credit scene. The film kept me invested for a good while, and it hasn't stopped. All in all, it's an enjoyable film from the DCEU and a fun solo entry as well, and I'm ready to see more of them. 3 stars. And that is it. So thank you for joining me. Like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, support me on Patreon, and until next time for a new video.